and welcome to the WildBlue podcast, perspectives on aviation lives, lifestyles, and business.
Hi, this is Chris Kirk at WildBlue Aircraft Sales with the WildBlue podcast, and this is where we focus on aviation lives, and lifestyles. So we're today with April Culver, and April is the Executive Director of Challenge Air for Kids and Friends in Dallas, Texas. And I've known April for a long time, have worked alongside her, and just think the world of her. And so I thought, gosh, this would be a great opportunity for her to explain a little bit about Challenge Air, what the organization does, who it serves, a little bit of her background, and all those kind of things. So April, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Chris. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, me too. So if you would, a little bit about who you are. Where did you come from, and how did you get into this position?
So I have a master's degree in adapted physical education. And so my background is working with special needs children in physical education. And in the early 80s, I started getting involved with Special Olympics and working with kids in that arena. And I just got involved in the nonprofit sector through Special Olympics in the early 80s. And so I've just kind of worked throughout the nonprofit world the last 30 years, and ended up here at Challenge Air for Kids and Friends about 10 years ago. And it combined my love for kids with special needs and my love for fundraising and making a difference in the world through raising money for a nonprofit. So I've been here about 10 years, and I knew nothing about aviation when I came in. That was not my forte. So it's been really fun to become part of the general aviation community and learn more about just all that is involved. It seems like it's such a huge community, but I've learned that it's really a small community. So
yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Everybody's worked with somebody at some point in time somewhere.
So let me ask you this. Tell me about how not only how you got involved with Challenge Air, but give a little bit of background on what Challenge Air is and what it does, because there's a lot of people that probably don't know.
So Challenge Air was born and created in 1997 by our founder. His name was Rick Amber, and he was a Vietnam War veteran who had had an accident while trying to land on an aircraft carrier in 1972. He ejected from his F-6 aircraft Crusader, but unfortunately broke his back and was a quadriplegic. He came back to the United States, and fast forward, he learned how to fly a Cessna 172 using hand controls. And at the same time, he was a champion wheelchair tennis player, and he was working with children that had spina bifida and teaching them how to play tennis. And one day they asked if they could go up in the airplane with him because they knew he was a pilot. And so he said, sure. So a couple of families met out in a field in Addison, Texas. And he took these kids up in the aircraft, and he learned immediately that once they became airborne and up in the air, he saw their self-esteem and their confidence and just their attitude change about their disability and what they could and couldn't do. And so when they landed, and he saw that he could use his aircraft as a motivational tool to help kids with special needs realize that just because they have a few challenges, that if they put their mind to it, that they can do anything. So the next few weeks, he and a friend invested in an airplane, and Challenge Air was born. So we have flown in 40 states across the United States. We've flown probably over 40,000 kids with special needs. And that is what we do. Our program is called the Fly Day, and that's how I met you and your family in Kansas City. And it's just such an honor to lead this group. And we've been from 1 staff to 4 staff to 12 events to 20 events to 4 events. And unfortunately, with this pandemic this year, we've had 1 event. And so that's just been a real challenge for us to stay motivated and keep our kids motivated to know that, when it's safe, we're going to be back up in the air.
Yeah, it's frustrating with the lack of fly days going on right now, and it kind of leaves a big hole in your heart. This September, of course, is when we traditionally do the fly day here in Kansas City, and so it's been on my phone, it's been feeding me pictures from, X number of years ago, and they're all fly day related because they're all September related things, and so there's nothing to add to it this year. And going back and seeing the kids when they're younger. And so the fly day is obviously our event, and we do it in a lot of different cities. What's a fly day look like?
So basically a fly day is generally on a Saturday, and we get general aviation pilots to donate their time and their fuel in their aircraft. And we recruit pilots to fly kids with special needs between the ages 7 and 21. So we'll get an FBO or a museum, like the case in Kansas City, to donate the hangar space. And we have a local committee that works year round to recruit funding and volunteers and pilots and activities for the kids to do. And the kids have to go online and sign up, and it's free. It's at no cost to families. We offer breakfast and lunch and activities throughout the day, and the kids actually go online and they sign up to fly at a certain time, and we'll fly between 20 and 25 kids each hour. So we could fly anywhere from 50 kids to 150 kids in an event, and it's an all-day circus basically. So we get local community organizations to provide activities like face painting and canine companions and science projects and that type of thing. So it's just a great day for the kids to come out with their families and really to kind of feel normal, because a lot of times these kids, they don't get to do activities that the quote unquote regular kids get to do. They don't play soccer, they don't play baseball, they don't play flag football, they're not in ballet. And so this is a great opportunity for them to come out and hang out with their peers and sing and dance and, do activities. And then, hey, they get to fly an airplane. Yeah. And our motto is, hey, you just flew an airplane. If you can fly an airplane, you can do anything. So we try to reinforce the fact that not very many people get to fly their own airplane.
So the pilots that are volunteering for this, how many at a typical event? What kind of airplanes are they flying? And where do they come from?
So we usually have between, at an event, say like Kansas City, we have between 20 and 25 airplanes and pilots. And so the pilots are recruited through pilot groups and then really just through word of mouth. So say the first year we had 12 pilots from Kansas City. And then the next year we would double that, because they would tell their friends, hey, you need to come fly this really amazing event and fly these kids. So we usually reach out to the pilot communities in each of the cities and then just really word of mouth. And then a lot of our pilots, once they fly with us in one city, they'll fly to another city to fly for us, because they just love it so much. And we could not do Challenger without the pilots. I mean, it's just, it's an amazing thing that you guys do by donating your, aircraft and your time. And a lot of the pilots tell us, hey, you know what? We get more out of it than the kids. So we have story after story after story from pilots. Just, it's just heartwarming. It's life-changing for not only the kids and their families, but for the pilots as well.
I'm always amazed at not only how many pilots we have that volunteer, but that come back year after year after year. And then some of them, the distance they travel to go to these fly days. I know some of them, I'm trying to think of the gentleman's name that lives in Florida. And I've seen him in San Diego flying out there and renting an airplane. And we get, again, there's Art. I can't remember what Art's last name is, but he comes in from Minneapolis every year to Kansas City fly day. And so we get a lot of those folks that just, they've got such a big heart for it. And I will attest that you hit it on the head, that sometimes I think that we might get more as a pilot volunteer out of it than the kids have. It's just so cool to see their excitement, and if we have time later, I'll tell a story about one of the parents, but it's just, it's just so neat to see them open up. And sometimes, especially with some of the kids that might have some emotional things going on, how whether it's autism or, a variety of different,
Right.
maybe it's not a physical disability, how they just, their eyes are opened, and it's just like, wow, something got to them. And it's really satisfying.
Yeah, the parents will tell you, like, you as the non-family member may not realize that expression is something that they've never seen in this 12-year-old child ever in 12
Right.
years. And then for that parent to see that change of expression, or just that smile or that laugh or that whatever, I mean, we kind of take it for granted and don't realize that that's something that's not an everyday thing. So yeah, it's a pretty special experience, I think, pretty much for everybody.
It is. Well, let me tell my story real quick. Is that all right?
Yeah, tell your story. Yeah. Absolutely.
So we were in McKinney. Erica and the kids came down with me, and I don't know how long ago this has been. It's probably been 6-7 years ago, maybe. So I'm out there, and this kid comes up, and he's probably 10. And he goes, "Hey, are you my pilot?" And so we start high-fiving, and just really having a good time. And I'm messing with him, and he's messing with me. And so we go fly. His dad's sitting in the back seat, and then we come back, and he has a blast the whole time. And we come back in the hangar, and his dad pulls me aside, and his dad is crying. And I'm just, I'm doing everything I can just to keep it in myself. And he's like, he is on such intensive medication for his autism. And he goes, I have not seen him this way in like 5 years. I don't remember how many, it was like 5 or 6 years, he told me. He goes, he has not been this expressive for that long. And he was, tears were rolling down his eyes. And I'm just like, oh, that's when you really see what a difference this makes.
Right. Because I remember when I interviewed for this job, I was like, you do what? You fly kids in airplanes with special needs and it does something? I was like, sure, I don't understand. And I actually got hired in July, but I couldn't start till October because I was taking a 6-week kind of sabbatical to go to Nepal and do the Eat, Pray, Love thing. And so when so before I started, I got to come to Kansas City as my first event as a volunteer. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing. It was just I couldn't even explain it to people what it was. And it's really, I think it's still hard to this day to explain to people. This is a transformational difference that we can make in the lives of so many people by allowing a child with special needs to fly an airplane. It's unbelievable.
So there are a few requirements for people who are pilots that want to volunteer. I'm sure that some folks are going to want to try to sign up. And so can you explain what the, what that process is and what they need to be able to bring to the table to volunteer as a pilot?
Sure. Yeah. Basically the most important requirement is that they have to have 500 flying hours. We used to have 250 pilot and command hours, but it's changed to just 500 flying hours and preferred 250 pilot and command hours. So then they also have to have their own aircraft, whether they own it or rent it. And we do not provide the aircraft. They must provide their own fuel, and they have to have a current, obviously, license and medical to be able to fly for us. So it's that's pretty much it. And then a love for safety and aviation, and and there's like a checklist that just asks you a few questions if you're current on stuff and make sure you haven't had any recent incidences and stuff like that. So so it's pretty straightforward.
And they need to have dual controls, right? So the kids can have the opportunity to actually take control of the airplane.
Yeah, it can't be a changeover yoke, I guess that's what that's called.
Yeah.
And no experimental aircraft. And it has to have 4 seats because we require that a parent or a guardian ride with the child. So it has to at least be able to hold the pilot, the co-pilot, and a parent or guardian. So
right.
That's it, yeah. And
sometimes people ask the question how this differs, from young eagles. And I think the differences are really night and day once you get out there and go do it. It's not, you're not just taking anybody up flying and exposing them to aviation. This is a very, there's a lot of things that have to be put in place and things you got to really be aware of, because some, the kids, they all react in different ways. You don't know what's going to happen. And, and sometimes they can have just absolute sensory overload. And, you have to be prepared for that too. I remember taking a couple of, you remember the blind, the lady that adopted a couple of girls from Ukraine, maybe, that were blind.
Oh yeah.
And so we let them walk around the airplane and feel it. But I remember that once we got moving, they were having fun and they were really enjoying it, but they were processing so much that they'd never experienced before. And
just the feeling of flight.
It was just different.
Yeah.
So
it is. Yeah, and we try to, we have a pilot briefing in the morning where we have experienced pilots talk to the new pilots to kind of give them some pointers and tips. And basically we just let the pilots know, hey, if you're not comfortable flying this co-pilot, be sure and let somebody know, so you don't have to fly them if you're uncomfortable. So we want to make sure everybody's safe. That's our number one priority. And so we really emphasize that with the families and with the pilots and the volunteers especially.
So talk about the other volunteers, because there's tons of other volunteer opportunities.
Sure, yeah. So back to what makes up the day, we have about, I would guess, 100 to 150 volunteers that help load the kids on and off the aircraft. Again, safety is very important. So every pilot has a team of 2 to 3 to 4 volunteers that wear safety vests and escort the families to and from the aircraft and put them on the plane. And then when the plane lands, they meet the plane on the runway, and then they bring them back, or not the runway, the tarmac, and then they bring them back in. And then we have volunteers to help distribute food and help with check-in. And when the kids get there, they have to go through a registration process, and they all get a t-shirt. And I brought a sample of one of our little t-shirts that they get. So this is a t-shirt that every child gets, and then all our sponsors go on the back. And then they go get weighed, their family gets weighed. And then we have an automatic dispatch system that's through the Wi-Fi and computerized, where they get assigned the appropriate aircraft that can hold the weight of their family. And so then they wait, and the kids go through ground school. It's a little 10-15 minute little introduction to flight, and reminding them what to do and what not to do and what not to touch and all that kind of thing. And if they get too excited, to sit on their hands so they don't accidentally touch the yoke and stuff like that. And then they wait, and they go out. When they go out to the airplane, they have a red carpet with cheerleaders lining both sides of the red carpet. And the kids are cheered on and, told to have a great time. Many times the kids are real apprehensive and they're kind of scared. And, sometimes they cover their ears because it's too loud, and they're kind of shy. And so then they get out there and they get on the airplane and they do their flight. And when they land, they get a certificate, which I don't have a sample of that, but they also get this pair of wings that the pilot has worn on his shirt. He takes them off of his shirt, presents them to the co-pilot and says, congratulations, now you're an official co-pilot for Challenge Air for Kids and Friends. And then when they come back into the hangar, they come back into the red carpet, they're so excited. They're high-fiving all the cheerleaders, and they can't even believe what they've just done. So it's a real transformational process for when they leave to go out to the aircraft to when they come back. So it's a pretty neat experience, like we said before. So
the whole day is fun.
Yeah.
I had one young man one time that you talked about the cheerleaders. He must have asked me a half a dozen times while we're flying, the cheerleaders still going to be there when I come back?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they love those cheerleaders. Well, another thing I wanted to, you said your kids and your wife are with you. That's the other great thing about the volunteer aspect of this. It's something that your whole family can do, and it really brings your family together. It helps your children that realize how lucky really they are that they don't have any problems compared to a lot of these kids. And I know, we love watching Grace and Ethan grow up every year and just take on more responsibility and take leadership roles. And I just think it's, I can't say enough for the experience, not only like we've said before for the kids with special needs, but your families and parents and volunteers. It's just, it's great for everybody.
Well, I will say that anybody that's thinking about doing becoming a volunteer, it is extremely rewarding, and it's just fun. And my kids this year are so disappointed that
No,
we aren't doing it. So
we're all disappointed that we're not doing. I mean, it's hard to stay motivated because we're just in here day to day, going, what do we do? We don't want to quit, but because
right,
we work hard to make all this free and at no cost to family members, and our reward as staff is to get to go see those smiles on those faces, and so we just keep watching old videos. And looking at old pictures because it's just like we're gonna get back out there. We're gonna get back out there.
So if you're a parent or a caregiver to a child with special needs, how can you get involved then?
So basically, you go to our website, and like I said, we usually do between 12 to 15 events a year in different cities across the United States. We do Seattle, Washington, Kansas City, Denver, Fort Lauderdale, Dallas, McKinney, Tulsa. So you just have to check the website and you sign up. Basically, it's free. We really rarely turn anybody away. So it's really based on how many pilots we can recruit. So if we're getting more kids, we really try to put the word out that, hey, we're going to have to tell 12 to 15 kids they can't fly if we don't get more pilots. And so we just really try to get the right ratio number-wise pilots to kids. But they just go to our website and see if there's a city near them that they can sign up and sign up. And if there's not a city near them and they're interested in helping start an event in their city, we have guidelines on the website on how to host a Fly Day event. And so we can talk to interested family members and volunteers about starting in a new city.
So the website is?
The website is challengeair.org.
Challengeair.org. Okay.
Yep.
A lot of good stuff there. So you're the leader of the organization.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of give me a little bit of depth here on what does the organization look like operationally? People that work for you, how is the organization structured?
So right now I'm the executive director / CEO, and so I'm in charge of all the fundraising, the administrative stuff, and then the staff that we have a program director, Juliet Siddons. She's been around a couple of years, and her primary function is organizing the Fly Days. And then I have an executive assistant that helps with data management and thank you notes and just other day-to-day things that have to happen. She helps with social media, and we also have a part-time person that is contract labor out of Indianapolis that does all our social media. So I don't know if you've noticed on Facebook all the videos and pictures and messaging that we've been doing on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, but that's really ramped up a lot this past year because of her. And then I have a pilot coordinator that helps recruit our pilots and then just keeps that information all up to date because we have about 250 to 300 pilots that fly for us every year, and just keeping the up-to-date current medical and license is pretty crazy. It doesn't sound like it'd be that much, but it's a lot of work. So, and then she prepares all the packets for every Fly Day to make sure we have all the up-to-date information for our pilots. So that's it. It's a pretty bare-boned organization. I've been here 10 years, and I was thinking last night, I think 5.5 out of those 10 years I've been solo because we didn't have the funding to hire any more staff. So last year we had a really great fundraising year, and we're able to hire 3 new people, and then the pandemic hit. So I'm doing everything I can to keep everybody on board so I don't have to let everybody go. So when we do get back up and running and hosting Fly Days again, I'll have a full staff.
So how do you go about raising money? How's that done?
So basically, I mean, it's kind of interesting that you asked that because really the fundraising model that we've used in the past has changed so much because of the pandemic. But in the past, our funding was through corporate sponsorships for each Fly Day event. So every city was required to raise a certain amount of money depending on how large their event was. And that was by corporate sponsorships for those Fly Days. And then we do direct mail campaigns. We have one big fundraising event. It's a gala / hanger dance every year here in Dallas. And so that's our biggest fundraiser. And then just major gifts from individual donors that I call on that have shown an interest in Challenge Year, and just ask them to invest more than the annual dollar. So, and then I write grants. So we've been very blessed by a lot of foundations, aviation foundations and companies that have corporate foundations that will give us gifts. So our budget, cash budget, is about $350,000 annually, and then we get between $200,000 to $250,000 of in-kind donations, the hangars, the aircraft, food, that type of stuff that we couldn't do these events without that. So each event costs us we calculate between $25,000 and $30,000 would cost us if we paid for everything. But our hard costs are really usually around $15,000. That includes staff management, insurance, T-shirts, the things that we really have to pay for that we can't get donated. So.
Is it safe to say that with the COVID thing going on, that is it more or more difficult, or is it easier to raise money right now without events happening?
Well, I mean, like I said before, we really had to be creative on our funding and diversify that funding effort, because we don't provide a direct service to the COVID pandemic, people. We're not feeding the homeless or, keeping electricity turned on for shelters or any of that. So a lot of the money this year has been focusing on the pandemic and the people that have lost their jobs and that type of thing. So we've really, we've lost a lot of funding, probably close to $200,000, because we don't have fly day events. So there's no event to sponsor, there's no event to host. And so really, we've just been doing direct mail, and I've been writing a lot of grants, and we just had a big North Texas fundraising day that we were very successful just from individuals. We raised about $55,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, our best ever. So
wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, despite all that's going on in the world, people still care about being connected and to do something bigger than themselves. And so they still want to give back and they want to make a difference. And so we're just continuing to remind people that, hey, we're going to be back flying when it's safe. And please help us keep the lights on and the doors open. So when that time comes, we're ready and we've got the funding and we can just pick up right where we left off. And so I think that's been the most challenging part for me, is to balance that, keeping the staff motivated and here, and then making sure we don't run out of money. So when we do fly again, we have the funds to do so. And I want to also say that I have a 12-member board of trustees that, besides the staff, that really are instrumental in making sure that we're fiscally sound, that we're spending money the way we should be spending money, and that we're providing every event at the safest possible way, and the connections that they give us and the funding that they support Challenge Air. We wouldn't be here without the support of the Board of Trustees, which you used to be on our Board of Trustees. Thank you.
I did. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that maybe there's somebody listening that, has a heart like you do for serving an organization in the way that you do, and so what words of wisdom do you have for somebody thinking about getting into the nonprofit arena, and specifically being the leader in that organization?
Really, I think you just have to be passionate about what you're doing. I've raised money for a lot of organizations, and I've met people that have said, April, you should be in sales. You could make so much more money and all that. And for me, my life is more fulfilled by the grace of God and by being able to give back in a way that makes a difference in people's lives. I don't really, it's not important to me. I mean, obviously I want to be able to put food on my table, but it's not a job that you're going to ever really make a lot of money in, but the reward that you get in knowing that you're changing lives is far more valuable than that. So you have to have a lot of passion. You have to be very flexible You have to wear many, many hats because especially if you're the only staff member. I love it when people call the office and they go, hey, can I speak to your human resources director? And I'll be like, let me put you on hold with a minute. And I'll put them on hold and be like, hi, this is April. And they're like, didn't I just talk to you? And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty much it. So I'm the PR director, the HR director, the program director, the janitor. So, I mean, you have to enjoy being able to, get in there and get your hands dirty and lead with passion and servanthood and as a model of doing that, because I definitely don't sit back and dictate to my staff what to do or my volunteers. I'm moving tables and picking up trash cans and really be involved in a way that makes my heart happy. So.
You do a fantastic job, and it's just an absolute pleasure, not only just knowing you, but just working with you. And I just am so excited, or looking so forward to when we can have a fly day. And I know it sounds silly, but go out there and walk around the hangar and empty trash cans and
right?
Whatever it takes. So.
I know, and unfortunately, I think when we do start having fly days, I think our fly days are going to look a lot different. We're going to probably be wearing masks and probably limiting the number of families that can come at a time. And I don't know that right away we'll be doing a lot of the activities. We may just provide water and maybe some light snacks that are individually wrapped, just so we can get back up in the air. Because that's really our mission, is to build confidence and self-esteem in children and youth with special needs through the gift of flight. All that other extra stuff, the dancing and the DJ and the arts and crafts, and that's really all extra. And so my focus for next year will be on how can we get kids back up in the air safely and dealing with the COVID-19 and making sure everybody wears masks. And it'll probably look like only one parent can go and they can't bring a sibling or a friend. So it'll probably be scaled down for a while till we know there's a safe vaccine and people can be safe. So that's where I see us going in the next, 5 to 8, 6 months. So I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see. Be just glad to be there, like you said.
I know. I would just love to just get some kids back up in the air, even if it was, we did Saturday, Sunday, where we flew, 20 families on Saturday and 20 on Sunday, and that's all we did, because at least we're doing something, getting some kids up in the air. And I feel bad for the kids because they age out at 21, but I've promised families, no, we're going to make an exception this year because we realize that you didn't get to fly your last year, because so many kids they're so disappointed when they age out of the program and now they don't know what to do. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, April, thank you. We are just about running out of time. The one thing I did want to end with, though, is give you one more opportunity, especially for those people that would like to contribute, make a donation, help Challenge Air meet its fundraising goals. ChallengeAir.org. Anything else that they can do or places they can go to help with that?
So there's a couple things you can do. I don't know. I'm pretty sure everybody buys on Amazon. The Amazon has a program called Amazon Smile, where they give a certain percentage of every purchase that you make on Amazon. A purchase will go to Challenge Air for Kids and Friends. So that's one way to just go to Amazon Smile, sign up as Challenge Air as your preferred charity. And you don't even have to do anything. They just automatically take a percentage of whatever you buy and give it to Challenge Air. So that's an easy way to do that. The other way is, like Chris said, just go to our website and there's a button that says Donate Now and help us out there. And then, keep looking on the website, and hopefully next year we're in your city and you can come volunteer your time, bring your family, your friends, and just come out and have a great time and see what we do. And then you'll figure out a way to give back. But we definitely need the support. We couldn't do it without the funding, offer this experience to these families at no cost. So we do appreciate, and any amount helps because we need everything.
And a phone number for the office in case they want to reach you directly?
So the direct line here is 214-351-3353. And then you can catch us. We have YouTube videos that are up and running, and we have obviously all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check us out there because there's some great stories. We've had some great videos of some of our kids. A blind girl from Seattle last year flew for us, and we have the cutest video about what she felt like flying. And so check us out on YouTube. There's some great inspirational videos there as well. So.
Well, great. April Culver, Challenger, thank you so much.
Chris Kirk, Captain Kirk, WildBlue, thank you so much. I really do appreciate the opportunity to get to share Challenger with us, because I think the general aviation community didn't know that much about Challenger, and the more that know about it, the more we can get out there. And Rick Amber, our founder, had a dream of flying 1 million kids, and so we're not quite there yet. So we'd love to keep pursuing his dream and keep the dream of changing kids' lives with special needs through the gift of flight alive. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and sure do appreciate you and Erica and the kids. We love you so much.
Well, it's a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.
Okay, take care.
Thank you for listening to the WildBlue podcast. Find us online at flywildblue.com.